Invincible? Not anymore. In Baku, Oscar Piastri's aura of perfection shattered like carbon fiber against a concrete wall. The silence after his McLaren slammed into the barriers told a story no Australian fan wanted to hear. For months, Piastri looked untouchable, a rising titan on course to join legends Jack Brabham and Alan Jones as the only Australians ever crowned world champion. But in Azerbaijan, the so-called silent assassin showed he can bleed. Qualifying was already a nightmare, the nose of his MCL 39 buried in the wall, leaving him stranded in 9th. Race day? Even worse. A jump start triggered anti-stall, and within seconds, he'd plummeted from the grid to the very back, 20th place. The final insult came when his race ended in the barriers, a DNF that echoed through the paddock. David Brabham, son of the great Jack Brabham, summed it up best. It was a surprise to see Oscar make such mistakes. It shows he isn't invincible. And with that, the door cracked open. Lando Norris smelled opportunity. But is this the start of a collapse or just the wake-up call Piastri needed? Stay with me and don't forget, if you live for these behind-the-scenes stories, hit that like button and subscribe. This season is only getting hotter. Could Baku be the turning point Lando Norris has been waiting for? Up until now, the fight inside McLaren looked one-sided. Piastri, calm and ruthless, had been carving through the season like a surgeon. Norris, despite flashes of brilliance, always seemed one step behind, the loyal wingman in papaya colours. But in Monza, the script shifted, a 2-3 finish with Norris ahead. Then came Baku, Piastri's disaster. Suddenly, Norris isn't just chasing shadows, he's got proof. Oscar can crack. As David Brabham put it, this could give Lando hope. For a driver like Norris, hope is oxygen. It's the chance to turn a season where he's been the hunter into one where he's the wolf finally catching his prey. Still, Brabham warns hope alone won't deliver a title. He has to get the most out of himself because that's the only way he can beat Oscar. And that's the truth. Norris can't control Oscar's mistakes, he can only sharpen his own game. But tell me, do you think Norris has what it takes to pounce, or will Baku be remembered as just a blip on Piastri's march to glory? Drop your thoughts below, and while you're at it, make sure you're subscribed because this McLaren civil war is far from over. Only 2 Australians have ever conquered Formula One, Jack Brabham and Alan Jones. Could Piastri still join them, or has the dream just slipped? Jack Brabham's titles in 1959, 1960 and 1966 made him a national hero, the man who put Australia on the F1 map. Alan Jones followed in 1980, tough, relentless, the last Aussie to hold the crown. Since then, Mark Webber fought bravely but never sealed it. Daniel Ricciardo gave fans joy with 8 wins but fell short of the big prize. Now, Oscar Piastri is the one carrying that torch. Every lap, every overtake is being weighed against history. That's why his collapse in Baku wasn't just a bad weekend, it was a tremor shaking an entire nation's hope. David Brabham, speaking as the son of a legend, knows exactly what's at stake. His words hit harder because he's lived in the shadow of greatness. Oscar has made mistakes now, maybe that was even necessary. Maybe, or maybe in the unforgiving world of F1, one crack in the armor is all it takes to lose the crown. And hey, if you love these stories that blend racing with legacy, smash that like button. Let's keep pushing this channel up the grid just like McLaren fights on Sundays. From contender to calamity, how did Oscar Piastri's title charge unravel in just one weekend? It started in qualifying. The McLaren twitched, oversteered, and in a heartbeat, the nose was buried in Baku's unforgiving walls. 9th on the grid, not ideal, but survivable. Then came Sunday, and the nightmare grew. The lights went out, Piastri jumped the start, and the car's anti-stall kicked in. Chaos. 20 cars blasted past as his MCL 39 crawled, helpless, like a wounded beast, from second in the championship to dead last in the blink of an eye. Still, fans hoped for a recovery drive. But on a street circuit as merciless as Baku, one wrong move ends it all. And that's exactly what happened. A crash into the barriers, a DNF, a weekend that will live as the first true stain on his 2025 campaign. Norris? He only managed 7th, but that hardly mattered. The real headline was simple. For the first time all season, Piastri looked human, vulnerable, and every rival smelled blood. But is this vulnerability a curse or the lesson that will harden him to a champion? Hit subscribe because we're about to dig into that next. Pressure doesn't just reveal weakness, it forges champions. So what does Baku really mean for Piastri? David Brabham believes the disaster might actually be a blessing. Maybe that was even necessary, he said. Think about it. Every champion has a breaking point, a weekend where the world questions if they're truly cut from title-winning cloth. Hamilton had Spa 2008. Schumacher had Adelaide 1994. Even Verstappen cracked under pressure before he became untouchable. For Piastri, Baku might be that trial by fire. The jump start, the anti-stall, the crash, those weren't just errors. They were the raw, exposed nerves of a driver finally feeling the weight of expectation. The title is no longer just a dream. It's a destiny hanging over his shoulders. And Brabham's warning is clear. It shows that Oscar can be cracked after all, which means Norris and every other rival just got their first real taste of blood in the water. What do you think? Is this Piastri's growing pains or the first sign his title bid could collapse? Let me know in the comments, and while you're there, drop a like to keep this community flying as fast as these McLarens down Baku straights. Can Norris turn one bad weekend into a full-scale championship swing? Let's not sugarcoat it. Up until Monza, this season felt like Piastri rules. The silent assassin was methodical, almost untouchable. Norris, despite raw speed, always seemed to play second fiddle. But in Italy, Lando edged him. And then Baku. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. For Norris, this is more than just a lucky break. It's a signal. He doesn't need Piastri to collapse. He needs to maximize every chance, every podium, every lap where Piastri isn't perfect. As Brabham bluntly put it, he has to get the most out of himself because that's the only way he can beat Oscar. And that's the brutal truth of F1. You can't rely on your rival's downfall, you can only sharpen your own blade. And right now, Norris has never looked hungrier. Imagine the chaos if he strings together back-to-back wins while Oscar is still regrouping. Suddenly a 34-point gap becomes nothing more than dust. But does Norris have the killer instinct? That's the debate. Some say he's too nice, too loyal. Others argue this is the year McLaren Norris finally steps out of the shadows. What about you? Is Norris ready to strike, or will Piastri bounce back stronger? Subscribe now because this rivalry is about to explode. Invincible? No one in Formula One ever is. Baku just reminded us. That's the beauty and brutality of this sport. One weekend, you're the unstoppable prodigy carrying a nation's hope. The next, you're a rookie again, staring at the wreckage of your car and your confidence. Piastri's aura of inevitability cracked under the lights of Azerbaijan, and suddenly the paddock's buzzing. If Oscar can make mistakes, maybe this title fight isn't either. For McLaren, it's a blessing and a curse. On one hand, they've got two drivers capable of pushing Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes to the edge. On the other, the civil war at McLaren is now real. Every point, every podium is a battle not just against rivals, but against each other. And fans love it. Half the community is shouting Norris rules, while the other half stands by their silent assassin. It's papaya pride split in two. A team united by speed, divided by ambition. So tell me, are we about to witness McLaren's greatest triumph since 2008 or its most painful implosion? Hit like, drop your prediction, and let's dive into the final piece of this story. So what happens next? Is Baku the crack that shatters Piastri's season or the scar that makes him unstoppable? The truth is, Azerbaijan didn't just test Oscar's driving, it tested his spirit. The greats don't avoid mistakes, they transform them. Jack Brabham had mechanical failures that nearly broke him. Alan Jones had brutal retirements. Even Hamilton and Verstappen learned their hardest lessons in races they'd rather forget. Champions aren't defined by perfection, they're defined by recovery. For Norris, this is the moment of truth. Does he seize the weakness and mount a title challenge of his life? Or does he let Piastri regroup and slam the door shut? For McLaren, the risk is balance. How do you let two lions fight without tearing the team apart? One thing is certain, Formula One in 2025 just got more unpredictable, more human, and infinitely more exciting. And we'll be here every step to bring you the drama straight from the paddock. So tell me, was Baku the making of Oscar Piastri or the moment that will haunt him forever? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button if you felt the adrenaline of this story, and make sure you're subscribed because the next chapter of this McLaren war could drop any Sunday.